Shenanigans are afoot in the state capitol, and it could mean you, the taxpayer, get stuck with another multi-billion-dollar bill. Corruption thrives in the fog, and the establishment and the bureaucracy know this all too well. For years, the executive branch agencies have been able to hide the true magnitude of their spending and their programs. This year, JFAC was fast and furious with actuating a new budget process that will allow lawmakers to be more critical of agency budgets and how to hold bureaucrats accountable. But suddenly, this progress seems to have stalled. So what happened? We'll dive into the details on this week's episode of Fiscal Fridays. Right out of the gate, JFAC made significant strides toward a more transparent and accountable government. One of the first things they did was change the way the legislature votes on funding for agencies. In years past, you had to vote for an agency's entire budget, all or nothing. But this year, JFAC voted to break up the budgets into two pieces. One piece maintains the basic needs of government as is, no frills and no additions. Then they'll come back and consider the changes requested by the agency in the form of line items and other adjustments or increases separately later in the session. This allows for a more critical eye towards saving taxpayers' money and allowing lawmakers to vote to support an agency without supporting the excessive increases. This means that the legislature can be more judicious about spending more than $1.5 billion in extras proposed for this fiscal year. Additionally, Governor Little has made it a habit to hide spending increases in transfers to dedicated funds. Transfers are not accounted for as spending increases, so the idea is to move the money around so spending from Idaho-sourced dollars in the general fund doesn't look so bad. These aren't rainy day funds either. These are funds designed to provide funding for specific projects. They will be spent down as the projects progress. In the first week, JFAC co-chairs asked the Legislative Services Office to provide a report of what the true spending increase would be if these transfers were counted as spending. This is a huge move for transparency that conservatives have been pushing for a long time now, including our very own Fred Birnbaum. Finally, there was an additional move to not fund the Division of Indirect Support Services within the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare. This would cripple the agency if they did not provide the committee with a corrective action plan for the misspent child care grants IFF reported last year. This in itself was a huge win for the legislature to hold a rogue executive branch agency accountable for violating the law. So, what came of all these changes? Well, in response to the potentially devastating loss of funding, the IDHW opted to seek revamping how they run their grants program to avoid such malfeasance in the future. However, they were very nonspecific in what this would mean. Though this is a step, JFAC should remain skeptical until they see the plan on paper. It is possible the agency is just posturing for the press while planning on changing nothing. Regarding the transfers, we have yet to see any documentation made public by the Legislative Services Office despite more than 10 days of working time. However, IFF projected what this could look like. We found that adding back the transfers doubles Governor Little's stated increase to the general fund. Adding back these transfers since 2020, you will find over $4 billion were hidden. This also demonstrates a 54% increase in general fund spending since 2020. Mind you that this is absent any federal spending. This is money sourced from Idahoans' paychecks, groceries, and businesses. Finally, the maintenance budgets JFAC passed more than 11 days ago are nowhere to be seen. Subsequent budget decisions cannot be made until we know where rock bottom is. These budgets passed with party line approval in the committee, but this delay causes concern. It seems odd that it would take so long to convert a motion into legislation prepared to print. It is possible the bureaucracy and big spenders in the legislature alike aren't going to allow their spending addiction to be so visible. So, what does all this boil down to? JFAC needs to stand strong on their commitment for a transparent and accountable budget process. There will be resistance from huge special interest groups, agencies, the governor, and the establishment. Transparent government is far from an easy road to travel. Decades of capitulation have put us in this situation to begin with. It is time for our elected representatives in the State House to put an end to it. Overall, conservatives should applaud the efforts by JFAC, especially those of co-chairs Horman and Grow. But all this effort means nothing if the establishment defies these initiatives. It is crucial for JFAC to hold the line. Welcome to the legislative session, everyone. And be sure to get the latest from the Idaho Freedom Foundation by subscribing to our channels and liking our content. Also, if you would like to ask questions, don't hesitate to drop us a line at media@idahofreedom.org.